I wanted to create a space to honor the strength and resilience of women, to ask the question, what motivates a woman to rise up and stand greater than the very obstacle that tried to keep her down? Where does this greatness come from? And how can we access it together through the sharing of story and experience? Inspiring, empowering, and loving, helping women to see themselves as the heroes of their lives, coming together in the practice of a kinder beauty, exploring the very essence of who we are, and reaching a new way of being. This is the Greater Than Project. Hello everyone, I'm Michaella Madrid-Branch, and I'd like to welcome you to the first segment of the Greater Than Project. And joining me today, I'm honored to introduce, is the beautiful Michaella Bruce. Welcome to the Greater Than Project.
Thank you.
I was mentioning to you earlier that there is a quote that I personally love by the great artist George O'Keeffe, and it says something to the effect of, there is something to explore about woman that only a woman can explore. And that's really what we're here to do through the Greater Than Project, is to explore what it means to be woman, what it means to rise above adversity, and how we can feed off of each other and learn and grow and support and discover, I think, the depths of our greatness as women. So I'm really honored to have you here today, and I want you to know how much I appreciate the fact that you're willing to share your very powerful story with us.
Thank you very much.
I thought I would start, Michaella, by asking you to tell me a little bit about the young woman prior to November 2011. Tell me a little bit about your loves and your passions and your interests that you remember growing up.
I grew up out in the country on 10 acres and a pond and a bunch of farm animals, and I was definitely a nature girl. I loved being out in nature and just discovering everything that life had to offer. My passions was dancing. I loved to dance. That's how I expressed myself, and I was going to college before the car accident, and I was working on pursuing a degree. I was living with my brother and working for him as his personal assistant, and I felt like I was on a good road to whatever life had in store for me. Was shopping at Black Friday, and then I got in the car accident and my whole life changed.
What can you tell us about that night that you remember?
I remember I went to my Aunt Amy's house for Thanksgiving, and I also worked at Forever 21 at the time, so I decided I was going to go shopping at Black Friday, and for some reason I remember going into PacSun. I don't remember any of the other stores I went into. I don't remember walking to my car. I don't remember driving to the freeway. And it was a 6-car pileup, so there was a lot of people involved, but I was the most seriously injured. It was really like a shocking moment because I had so many questions but I couldn't really express myself. The first thing I remember was looking at myself in the mirror. I had a helmet on and a neck brace because they had to remove the left side of my skull and put it in the freezer because my brain was swelling and I wasn't able to properly talk. I was at the level of a 3rd grader, and I had to learn everything all over again.
That's amazing, because the doctors gave you some 10 to 30% chance of surviving.
Yeah.
It's staggering. Broken ribs, punctured lung, internal bleeding, fractures in your neck and back, traumatic brain injury which resulted in the partial skull removal.
They would teach me by having me push a shopping cart down the halls of the hospital. And I remember it made me so frustrated that I couldn't walk.
Even the smallest of triumph, too.
Yeah.
A lift of a finger, or
Yeah,
that was a big celebration.
Yeah, every little movement was so significant because I was supposed to be paralyzed for the rest of my life in a wheelchair, being fed through a tube. I think I had 2 bags. They were full of shattered glass from my my window because I smacked my head against my driver's side window, and all my bags were filled with the glass, and I still have the clothes today.
When you stood up with the helmet on in the hospital and you looked in the mirror, who did you see?
It was almost like I already knew about everything that had happened. It wasn't a surprise or a shock to me. Sure, it was weird to see myself like that, but I was okay with it.
You're talking about a level of acceptance that is, it's really incredible, because so often, I think as women, we sort of fight against events in our lives, or we fight against who we are physically, spiritually, emotionally, because we think we're supposed to be something else that our culture or our society expects of us. But you're telling me in this moment of physical devastation that there was a level of acceptance.
I don't know, it was like I was content with the way I looked and with what had happened.
There's symbolism there, though, because often I think in the mess and the mayhem and the tangles of life is where, when we go there and allow ourselves to go there, is where we find a rebirth. And so it's my question to you is, in that moment, as hard as that was, to release yourself of your hair, something you loved and felt beautiful with, did you feel a sense of rebirth, of freedom, that you were stepping into something else?
It was almost like a relief. It was kind of like letting go of the bad that happened, and from here on out, it's all going to be good, and I'm capable of anything. It definitely made me stronger, and it helped me grow as a person, and it was almost like I had a fresh new start at life, and I felt healthier and stronger, and just always remembering who I am, and that just because I look this way doesn't mean I am a certain way. I'll always be myself, no matter how I look.
That's huge, and it's huge for women and girls to hear. We also were touching on earlier, before we delved into the interview, scars.
Yeah.
Emotional scars and physical scars, and how we all too often, I think, are conditioned to try to hide them.
Yeah.
Yet you embrace your scars.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about that?
My scar goes from the front of my forehead all the way down to my ear. It's, at first I was really embarrassed of it when my head was shaved, because it was so obvious right there when I would walk into a room and I had this huge scar. People would like just stare at me, and I remember like this little boy, he just stared at me and he said, "Mom, look at that girl." And it made me want to cry, and it was really hard. And it just reminded me like how different life is. When I didn't have to wear the helmet anymore, I really grew a love for my scar, and it's really all that I have left to show people of my accident. I really appreciate when they are curious about my scar instead of being grossed out or feeling weird, and because it's an opportunity for me to share my story, and I love talking about it. I thought about getting it tattooed, and my mom has mentioned it, but I think I'm just gonna keep it the way it is because I think it's beautiful.
I think that's so powerful and so beautiful. I'm so glad that you've shared that, because so many girls and women out there really struggle with physical imperfection. And I refer to it as, let's talk about a kinder beauty, a kinder way of looking at beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And then how we're bombarded with sort of a physical definition of what beauty is and how to value ourselves. Ultimately, I believe that beauty is from within, and our strength is from within. That's where the seed is planted. When someone, and I know they've termed you as this because I've heard it, they say you're a walking miracle.
Yeah.
What does that feel like?
It definitely feels amazing, and I definitely don't think of myself as that, but I think about everything that I've been through, and when I think about it, I'm just amazed, because I feel like I'm the same, just more enriched and more powerful, I guess, just because I've went through all of those things at such a young age. So when I hear people say that, it it really puts a smile on my face, and I say thank you so much. Like that means a lot.
What do you want women to internalize from your story, to take away, something that they can apply to their own lives?
The advice that I give really everyone is just to live your life to the fullest and appreciate every single moment that you have, and really take it in and see the beauty in it, and everything is so special in life and so important. Just even the minute things, just every single thing, every moment, every experience, every person that you meet, it's all there for a reason, and should all be appreciated. And I just think it's so important to remember that, because we get so caught up in life, and everyone is moving so fast all the time, and everything's so rushed, and everyone's so into instant gratification that you need to stop and remember what the true meaning of life is, and that you'll find the beauty of it and the importance of the smaller things.
And you discover so much about yourself when
Exactly.
you allow yourself to be in those quiet moments, still with nature.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the voice from within is able to be heard.
Exactly.
And that's important for us all to, I think, take away from this discussion and to carry on in our lives, is honoring those quiet moments and allowing ourselves, giving ourselves the permission to access those moments. It's beautiful, beautiful advice.
Thank you.
Poignant and important. And for any woman out there, any girl who might be feeling alone right now in her struggle, isolated in her pain, what would you say to her?
Just remember that you're not alone, and there's so many girls that are going through hard times and experiencing difficult things in life, and you'll always have someone there to turn to.
And sometimes, often, that person is yourself.
Yeah.
And that you have the power to go there and the permission to go there.
Yeah. You just need to love yourself and treat yourself right, and keep your body healthy and strong, and because you're stuck with it for the rest of your life, so might as well make the best of it.
I think that's so brilliant. And I often talk about not sitting in your struggle.
Yeah.
We get stuck in those places. And when we are able to learn from it, forgive, be grateful for what we have, then I think we offer ourselves the freedom to move forward and to really find our purpose and our calling in life. You're very young, but you've been through a lot. Do you have a sense of what that is, your purpose, your calling?
I made the choice that I would like to become a physical therapist and major in kinesiology, because I would love to help people who have gone through similar experiences I have. I find joy in that and happiness, so I would love to help someone and relate to them on a personal level.
That's beautiful. You have so much to offer them.
Yeah.
And the true definition of recovery, I believe, is when we are able to help others through the very similar struggles that we've been through ourselves.
Exactly.
So I think that's a beautiful purpose and calling. And I see you light up when you talk about it, by the way.
Thank you.
Which leads me to the question of, when you look back at that time in your life and the journey that you've gone on, what are the things that you say that were so improbable? I mean, a diagnosis of being in a vegetative state for the rest of your life if you survived. Yet you conquered that. You know, the question of, what are you greater than? What are the adversities that you look back on and say, I was stronger than that. I was greater than that.
I definitely feel I am greater than the car accident that I got in. I'm greater than all of the struggles that I had to go through to recover. I'm greater than the outcome that the doctor said I would have.
You're greater than fear. You're greater than that broken glass that was in that bag, the shattered pieces, which I think are so symbolic of that moment, that everything in an instant was shattered in your life. And you were greater than that, and you've put the pieces back together, and you're thriving, and you have so much to teach. so much for us to learn, because your beauty is without boundary, and it comes from that deep place of knowing within you. So much of it from what you've gone through, and it is your brilliance and your beauty and your radiance. So thank you.
Thank
for
you.
being here and sharing that.
Thank you for having me.
We want to thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Greater Than Project, this first episode. And we invite you all to follow us on YouTube and on Facebook as we continue to explore the beauty and strength and the eloquence of women in our Santa Barbara area. And I'd like to remind you that you are indeed more than enough. In fact, you are greater than. Until next time, I'm Michaella Madrid-Branch. Thank you for joining us.